Here are the top stories for today, January 11, 2022. A limit on the purchase of paracetamol and other flu medicines is now in effect to prevent an artificial shortage and skyrocketing prices amid high demand. The country's top health official confirms the Omicron is now the dominant COVID-19 variant in the country, as he reiterated the need to ramp up the healthcare system and strictly comply with health protocols. President Rodrigo Duterte stresses the need for government to be fully operational despite soaring COVID-19 cases. Metro Manila mayors meanwhile agree on keeping the region under alert level 3. And the DILG slams the Communist Movement's act of hampering disaster response efforts as many areas continue to pick up from the impact of Typhoon Odette. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The Department of Trade and Industry releases a joint memorandum circular directing the setting of purchase limitations of flu medicines. The purchase cap will only allow 20 tablets of paracetamol per individual or 60 tablets per household. The DTI says the limitation aims to prevent the artificial shortage and price escalation of over-the-counter flu medicines such as paracetamol, phenylephrine hydrochloride, carbocysteine, and chlorophenamine maleate paracetamol. Online selling of medicines is also not permitted. 60% of the genome sequence samples in the laboratories are positive for the Omicron variant. This was reported by Health Secretary Francisco Duque III during last night's pre-recorded Talk to the People address of President Rodrigo Duterte. Duque says that while the Omicron variant hits more than half of the cases of COVID-19 in the country, the registered severe and critical cases now are lower than the COVID-19 Delta variant surge in September last year. However, Duque urges the local government units to intensify the implementation of the PDITR strategies and implement granular lockdowns in communities with clustered cases. He also urges the public, especially the elderly and those with comorbidities, to avail of the life-saving COVID-19 vaccines.
Panatilihin din ang pagsusuot ng face mask, physical distancing at pag-iwas sa mga tinatawag natin the 3 C's. Ito po yung closed areas or spaces, mga matataong lugar or crowded places or areas, at mga lugar o aktibidad kung saan hindi may iwasan ang pagiging close contact. At huli, kung ikaw ay nakaranas ng sintomas, agad po tayong mag-self-isolate. Bigyan alerto ang lahat po ng inyong Barangay Health Emergency Response Teams sa inyo pong komunidad at magpasuri o magpa-test sa tamang panahon. Muli, nananawagan kami sa lahat na tayo ay magtulong-tulungan at gawin natin ang ating bahagi upang mapigilan ang patuloy na pagtaas ng mga kaso at muling maibaba ito.
The Food and Drug Administration has granted a compassionate special permit for an antiviral COVID-19 treatment drug called Bexovid. FDA officer in charge, Dr. Oscar Gutierrez, says Bexovid may be used for patients 12 years of age and above with mild to moderate COVID-19 cases. Bexovid can also reduce risks of hospitalization and deaths by 89% when given within 3 days of symptom onset, and by 88% when given within 5 days of symptoms onset. The pill will be distributed through the Department of Health and government hospitals.
Yung Bexovid po ay yung world first generic version po of the US FDA approved Pfizer's Paxlovid. So dahil ito po ay generic, ito po ay inaasahan po na mas mura po ang cost of treatment compared to Paxlovid, at ito po ay binigay po itong CSP sa DOH po. So ang WHO can make this accessible and available to government hospital once the BioCare Life Science Incorporated will deliver this to them.
The Metro Manila mayor said there is no need to escalate the National Capital Region to Alert Level 4. Despite the increasing number of COVID-19 infections, they said enough restrictions are in place and only a slight increase in the region's healthcare utilization rate is noted. MMDA Chair Ben-Hur Abalos Jr. said the current restrictions are against the unvaccinated, which make up about 85% of those with severe and critical COVID-19 symptoms and 93% of deaths. Citing data from the Department of Health, Abalos said most breakthrough infections or infections among the vaccinated present mild symptoms or are asymptomatic. He encouraged the public to continue regulating outdoor activities and to seek medical advice via telemedicine to avoid congestion in hospitals. Meanwhile, the MMDA denied rumors about an impending hard lockdown. The fake information originated from 2 audio recordings that asked the public to stock up on food and other essential items as the government would impose the strictest quarantine measure anew. Unvaccinated individuals will only be requested to go home. The clarification was made by the Department of the Interior and Local Government as the government implements measures to contain the rapid spread of COVID-19. Under the MMDA resolution, unvaccinated individuals are mandated to remain in their residences at all times except for the procurement of essential goods and services such as food, water, medical services, public utilities, and work. DILG Secretary Eduardo Año says checkpoints were installed to restrict the mobility of the unvaccinated people and that the arrest of the defiant unvaccinated people should only be a last resort and must be enforced within the bounds of the law. He said those with fake vaccination cards can be charged.
Naglabas ang kagawaran ng direktiba para sa mga mayor at punong barangay na tukuyin pa kung sino-sino ang mga bakunado sa kanilang kababayan at kabarangay at nang mamonitor ang mga hindi pa bakunado at maabisuhan na rin silang manatili sa kanilang mga tahanan. Ang mga lumalabas po na hindi bakunado ay ating pinauuwi sa bahay. At kapag po ito ay hindi sumunod, tsaka lamang po tayo mapipilitang arestuhin ang ating kababayan na ayaw sumunod. Sa ngayon naman po ay nakita namin ang pagsunod ng ating mga kababayan.
The Metro Rail Transit Line 3 or MRT3 offers free antigen tests to consenting random and volunteering passengers starting today until the end of the month. Passengers who volunteer for the free antigen testing with a negative result will get a free ride, while those who will test positive will be barred from boarding the train and will be asked to immediately self-isolate and contact their local government unit for health monitoring and confirmatory RT-PCR testing. The random antigen testing is being held at the MRT3 stations in North Avenue, Cubao, Shaw Boulevard, and Taft Avenue during peak hours from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. The national government should remain fully operational to ensure the effective delivery of public service. This is the reminder of President Rodrigo Duterte amid an uptick in COVID-19 cases among government personnel, healthcare workers, and members of the Presidential Security Group. Malacanang earlier issued a memorandum circular enumerating requirements and procedures for reducing the on-site workforce in government offices under the alert level system. In areas under Alert Level 4, government agencies will remain fully operational with at least 20% on-site capacity for workers, at least 30% on-site capacity for Alert Level 3, and at least 50% on-site capacity for Alert Level 2. The president says, being the country's top official, he needed to continue holding regular public addresses to communicate to the people what the government is doing and that part of being a civil servant was the risk of contracting COVID-19. He did not elaborate on which government agencies he was referring to, but it seemed like he was also referring to his experience in his own office. President Rodrigo Duterte is hoping to correct a law before he steps down from office in June. He particularly points out to Republic Act number 10121 or the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010. The law provides that the NDRRMC should recommend a declaration of a state of calamity by the President. It also requires the assessment of reports on disaster areas. President Duterte says the law needed to be repealed to allow the next administration to better deal with all kinds of disasters. He also called it silly, as the assessment of reports on disaster areas should only come after the calamity happened. In December, when Typhoon Odette pummeled several provinces, particularly in the Visayas and Mindanao, President Duterte said waiting for the assessment of reports becomes a hindrance and a legal obstacle that delayed his declaration of a state of calamity. It also prevented the government from acting immediately. Meanwhile, President Duterte says the government was not late in its Typhoon Odette response. Still ahead, the Quezon City government clarifies face shields are only required in medical facilities. And the DTI warns penalties against sellers of unauthorized COVID-19 self-test kits. Details ahead, keep it here on the PNA Newsroom. The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
If you are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective.
I would like to appeal to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic, because everyone is safe. No one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work. The Quezon City government clarifies that the use of face shields in Quezon City is mandatory only inside hospitals and quarantine facilities. Mayor Joy Belmonte on Monday denied the false information that has been circulating on social media stating that face shield use will be mandatory. Quezon City's Ordinance Number 3079 states that the use of face shields is not mandatory in public places and will only be required under Alert Level 5. Also on Monday, the mayor dispatched a team to a mall in Cubao and a supermarket in Barangay Camuning following complaints that clients were refused entry because they were not wearing face shields. Unless there is a resolution requiring face shields, the public can report such incidents to the city hotline 122. Also, to accommodate more residents and intensify the city's vaccination program, the Quezon City government will add 21 special pop-up sites, 16 in malls and other establishments, and 36 regular venues. School grounds will also be utilized as additional inoculation sites. Meanwhile, the Smart Araneta Coliseum, which serves as the city's mega vaccination site, will reopen on January 15. Novaliches District Hospital, Quezon City General Hospital, and Rosario Maclang Bautista General Hospital have vaccination areas within their compounds. On the other hand, some private hospitals also committed to help through the Adopt a Barangay program. The Department of Trade and Industry has warned businesses against selling unregistered self-test antigen test kits for COVID-19. DTI Assistant Secretary and Consumer Protection Group Head Anne Claire Cabuchan said self-test kits should not be sold whether in physical stores or online. Cabuchan said sellers may be held liable and penalized. The DTI reacted to the rise of sellers of supposedly overpriced self-test kits on websites. Currently, no self-administered antigen test kits have been registered with the Food and Drug Administration. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III last week instructed the FDA to prepare its approval of registered self-test antigen test kits for COVID-19. Meanwhile, Cabuchan assured that the supply of paracetamol, which can be used to treat mild COVID-19 symptoms, is expected to normalize after drugstores top up their inventory. She reiterated her warning against the sale of counterfeit medicines. Police arrested on Sunday a resident of Cabancalan City, Negros Occidental, who is registered as the first violator of the election gun ban in Western Visayas. The suspect was identified as Christopher Gaisen, a resident of Sitio Bunga, Barangay Orong. He was flagged down for inspection along Mabinay Highway in Barangay 9 when a police team saw in plain view the handle of a caliber .38 revolver loaded with live ammunition. The suspect also yielded two bladed weapons. He was detained after failing to show pertinent documents of gun ownership. Negros Oriental also registered its first gun ban violator on Monday. The suspect, identified as Arnel Dapatan Dumahel of Sitio Medalla, Barangay Kalasgaan, was arrested shortly after he allegedly evaded a joint COMELEC police military checkpoint in Talungon. Police seized from him a caliber .45 Colt handgun, 5 live ammunition, and a steel magazine. The suspect has been detained as charges for violation of the COMELEC gun ban and illegal possession of a firearm and ammunition are being readied against him. Cebu City Mayor Michael Rama has recommended setting up a room for home isolation as the city braces for another surge in COVID-19 cases. More on this and other news from the provinces from Marita Mawahe.
Cebu City Mayor Michael Rama on Monday said every household should prepare a room for isolation as the city braces for another surge in COVID-19 amid the threat of the Omicron variant. The mayor advised families to ensure supplies at home are intact and prepare medicines and thermometers and oximeters. Rama said the people should cooperate with authorities in minimizing the impact of the surge in COVID-19 cases. He also asked the Cebuanos to invoke the protection of the Señor Santo Niño, whose feast will be celebrated on Sunday. Meanwhile, the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority has required all persons entering Subic Bay Free Port starting Monday to show vaccination cards to prevent the further spread of COVID-19 in the area. Unvaccinated persons would have to show negative RT-PCR test results taken 24 hours prior to arrival in Subic. Aside from requiring vaccination cards, she said the SBMA also limited the access of some public areas only to fully vaccinated individuals. The stricter measures were made after the Interagency Task Force placed Olongapo City along with Zambales, Bataan, and 11 other areas in the country under Alert Level 3 late last week. Meanwhile, Iloilo City is mulling a regulation ordinance limiting the movement of unvaccinated persons. The legal team of the city mayor's office said the mayor is yet to endorse a call for the Sangguniang Panlunsod to enact an appropriate legislative measure. Should the proposal be welcomed by the SP, it will only take effect under the Alert Level 3 status or higher, signaling the increasing positivity rate of COVID-19 in the city. From January 1 to 9, the city already has 326 cases. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Marita Mawahe.
In Baguio City, a local official has advised residents to stay healthy as the city continues to experience colder temperatures. City Epidemiology and Surveillance Unit Chief Dr. Donabel Tubera Panes urged residents to wear thick clothing and keep their bodies warm to prevent complications brought by the cold spell in the city. Panes said cold weather triggers heart ailments and hypertension, which may lead to stroke. She advised individuals to hydrate and continue taking their maintenance medicines. Pag-asa recorded a temperature of 13.5 degrees Celsius at 6 a.m. on Monday. The country's summer capital experiences low temperature from December until the end of February or until the first week of March. Up next, deplorable and heartless, the NPA's act of hampering disaster response efforts draws criticism from various sectors. And indigenous peoples in Antique get livelihood aid. More stories when the PNA Newsroom returns. You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. The Diocese of Dumaguete continues to bring relief aid to victims of Typhoon Odette in Negros Oriental. Father Hendrix Alar, Emergency Program Leader of the Command Center for Typhoon Odette Response, said a team from Barangay Tinago is helping in the packing of relief goods for distribution to 800 families. The diocese is also set to distribute shelter kits in collaboration with the National Secretariat for Social Action, Caritas Philippines. Dumaguete Bishop Julito Cortez earlier visited Bai City and Manjuyod to bring boxes of foodstuff and water and some cash donations that he handed over to the parish priests. Cortez also visited Bindoy, Ayungon, Tayasan, and Himalalod to inspect damages on churches and hand over relief aid. Meanwhile, thousands of residents in Valencia, Negros Oriental who were affected by Typhoon Odette received rice and other relief assistance from the Energy Development Corporation, or EDC. The relief assistance included 260 sacks of 50 kilograms of rice for communities in Valencia, Negros Oriental, as well as Bago City, Murcia, and Isabela in Negros Occidental. The EDC also distributed 700 sets of relief packs composed of drinking water, food, and clothing. EDC operates the 222.5 megawatt geothermal power plants in the municipality of Valencia. The Department of Agriculture announced that early interventions are set in place to enable farmers in Typhoon Odette hit regions to save their crops. The DA on Monday reported 11.7 billion pesos worth of damage caused by Typhoon Odette. In response, the agency's 2.9 billion pesos worth of various programs are being used to help over 400,000 farmers and fisherfolk get back on their feet. The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources provided 6 fiberglass boats and 2 units of freezers to selected fisherfolk beneficiaries in Limasawa Island, southern Leyte. Meanwhile, the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, sent family food packs and disaster assistance family access card forms to Caticlan in Aklan, Cebu, and Palawan before 2021 ended. The typhoon caused 267,000 metric tons of production losses and damaged 440,000 hectares of agricultural areas in southern Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Residents of Carmen, Surigao del Sur have condemned the harassment done by the Communist New People's Army during their preemptive evacuation due to Typhoon Odette. On December 15, 2021, 2 civilians were hurt when NPA insurgents ambushed government troopers conducting preemptive evacuations before Typhoon Odette made landfall in Barangay Esperanza. The NPA rebels also reportedly harassed civilians during the rollout of barangay development projects in the town last year. Mayor Jane Plaza said all the barangays in Carmen have declared the NPA and the legal fronts of the Communist Party of the Philippines as persona non grata back in 2019. Meanwhile, the Department of the Interior and Local Government also condemned the CPP-NPA-NDF for hampering relief operation efforts. DILG Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya chided the communist terrorist group for their senseless and heartless acts in the midst of natural calamities. He added that these acts show the big difference between the motives of the government and the communist movement. Malaya assured that additional personnel will be dispatched to protect the LGUs from rebel attacks. Aside from the attack in Carmen, Surigao del Sur, NPA insurgents in Samar attacked government troopers pre-positioning relief supplies in Barangay del Rosario in Matuguinao town. NPA members also killed Mario Landisa, a farmer affected by Typhoon Odette in La Castellana, Negros Occidental on December 20. The indigenous peoples of Barangay Igkalawagan in the municipality of Tobias Fornier, Antique received cattle and a carabao as livelihood assistance from the government. The Department of Labor and Employment identified the beneficiaries as members of the Pantad Ati Tribe Association. They submitted a proposal to the office of Congresswoman Loren Legarda to hold cattle fattening and carabao raising projects. Each beneficiary receives one farm animal to be raised that is expected to augment the family income. The IPs in Tobias Fornier were among the 181 farmers in the municipality who were affected by Typhoon Odette last December 17. The typhoon left some 2.6 million pesos worth of damage on their rice crops. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day, everyone.